The time tracking tool in JobTread allows your employees to clock in and out, or for you to do manual entry of time. So let's start by setting up all of our time tracking settings by clicking on Settings on the main navigation, and then you'll see a time tracking section. This is where I'm choosing my break duration, so how long of breaks do I want to offer my employees. The first one I'm putting at 10 minutes, and then they also have a 30-minute option. Down here, I can set my overtime rules to let the system know when we should switch an employee's time into overtime automatically. So after my employees work 40 hours weekly, or if they're working over 8 hours daily, I want their time to switch to their overtime rate. Additionally, I'm choosing my week start date, and this is the start date that overtime rules will be accrued by. Next, I'll go into my Members tab, and I need to set up all of my rates for my members or my internal employees. So here in the Internal Users section, I can open up the Rates option, and here I've created 2 rates for this particular employee. I have Standard and I have Overtime. And then I included my burdened hourly rates. Now these rates should include any additional costs that you have for those employees. So for example, if you're paying out some of their benefits or workers' comp, you want those costs included in this burdened hourly rate, because this is the cost that will be tracked against any of your job budgets when you're doing your job costing and tracking all of your labor costs. So set up those rates for any internal employee who you would like to clock in and out. The next step that we need to do is go to our Job Costing tab. Here we can scroll down to the Cost Types section, and you can determine which cost types, which are assigned to cost items, you would like your employees to be able to clock in and out of. So in this case, I only want my employees to clock into labor cost items, so I have that one marked as time trackable. If you have other cost types that you'd like your employees to clock into, you can always toggle that on for the different cost types. Now this will limit the list in which your employees can then clock into. We'll see that in a minute real time. Now we're going to go to our time tool. So click on Time from your main navigation, and this is your time management system. Now you will probably see all of your employees' time, but your employees will most likely just see the time that they have tracked themselves. And that is all based on the roles and permissions that you have set up for your employees. Well, let's go ahead and clock in as we would if we were an employee. So I will click on the time clock tool on the top right. Now this will remain on the top right if they are using their mobile device or if they are on a computer. So we'll click that. First we'll choose the type of time, and currently it's going to be standard. Now that will default to the top rate that's listed at the member level. And then we also have the option to choose a job. So I am going to choose job 12 that I'll be working on. Now I can choose an item, and this will be all of the labor items that are in that budget because that's the cost type I had enabled. So here I'm going to say I'm clocking into, let's do walkthrough and measurements. Now I'll click clock in, and I will be currently clocked in. I can leave the app, I can close it, I can close this web browser, and I will remain clocked in until I open it again and choose to clock out. So we'll just let that continue tracking. Now you can also manually add a time entry by clicking this plus time entry option, and then you can select the user in which you are tracking time for. So I'll choose Scott here. And then also, of course, you can choose the type of time rate, and then I have the job. Now this job list will be limited to all of the jobs that this particular employee has access to. So we will choose job 12 for this employee. And then I can also choose an item. So let's go ahead and choose demo labor. Now I can set the date. Let's backdate this. And we'll say that their time started at 9 a.m. and we'll just put a duration of 8 hours. Great. Now I can choose to approve this time and hit save. All right, so we'll also now be able to see that I am currently clocked in. Now here are some other indicators on this time management tool. When you see the yellow or the clock icon, it means that it's pending time. It's not quite yet approved. We also have the green check mark. That means that it is approved time. And then you'll even see this little blue hammer, and that means that person is currently clocked in. Some other indicators to be mindful of are these little location icons. When I hover over this location icon, it will show me the distance that this employee is from the job site that they're clocking into. So I'm 18 miles away from the job site, and that's probably questionable, so that might be something to follow up on, right? Now, if it's an orange icon here, it means that I'm over 1 mile from the job site. If it's a blue icon, it means that I'm within 1 mile from the job site. So you can just quickly glance through this list and see if there are any that are orange to then look into further. Additionally, you'll notice this little asterisk next to this time here. That is saying that that employee actually was clocked in overnight. So that is a really good indicator that that employee probably did not clock out. So I can click and open their time, and yep, sure, indeed. So I will change the number of hours for that employee, maybe add a break if I need to, and then click save. Now you also can leverage these filters up top to see certain employee time ranges, and then also any statuses for the time. You can view all of the time by a specific user if you'd like, and then of course you can filter by rate. You also have these options to view the time in different ways. So we have a week view, so I can view all of the time tracked by week. I also have a summary view that is showing time based on the rate. Now let's say that we're an employee and we're going to go ahead and take a break. So we have been clocked in for almost 4 minutes here. So let's take a break. So I'll click on the break option and I can choose my break duration. As soon as I take a break, it's starting to count down my break time. And then when I'm ready to end that break, I'll just reopen it, click end break, and then I will remain clocked in. If I'd like to switch to another job or another item on the budget, I can click the switch option, and then I'll have the option to choose another job or item that I'm working within. And then that'll, of course, track it differently in my job costing for those jobs. Well, let's go ahead and make sure that we approve this time that is pending. So I am going to select all of the pending time, and then I'll choose to approve it all at once. Click save, and now we have all approved time except for the one that is currently clocked in. Now, a really neat feature about our JobTread time is that it actually will track within a job budget, so you can see how close to your maybe labor budget you're getting on that job. So let's go to a particular job here, job 12. And every job has a time tab that will show you all the time tracked within that job. And again, you have all the same access to filters here. And then we also have all of the time showing up in your budget. Let's expand our groups, and we'll scroll to the right to see all of our job costing columns. Here, you'll notice that you have an hours column as well as a time cost column. Your time cost are your hours times that employee's burdened hourly rate. So when I'm viewing this, I can click on any one of these cells to see the time that has been tracked in each of these items. Now these are based on the item that's selected when they are clocking in. Now if you have an employee that does not select an item when they clock in, that time will then be shown at the bottom of your budget in uncategorized time. At this point, I can click and expand it to view the time that is uncategorized, and then I can click on that time to be brought in, and of course I can then reallocate that time to a different budget item. Let's put that in framing labor, and we'll click save, and now we'll be able to see that in the budget under framing labor. And there it is. The last portion of this is if you are doing more of a cost plus job and you're wanting to pass along the time directly to your customers in an invoice, you do have the option to do so. You can click on plus document to create that invoice, choose your invoice document template, and then you'll choose bills and time. This will show all the time that is tracked that you can pass along to your customer. So I want to choose all of the time that's not yet invoiced. Select it all, and then you can add it all to your invoice all at once. And of course, you can choose any of your filtering and visibility options here to show your customer exactly what time they're paying for in the manner in which you choose to do so. If you have any questions, contact your customer success manager, or you can email support@jobtread.com and we'll be sure to help you out. Thank you!